you feel guns go the first go. Hey, oh, hey, oh. From all over the world, people are turn up. Unity we say, nothing couldn't hurt us. This is our game, we love the World Cup.
Get Dad ready for every job with all the tools he needs this Father's Day. The time by Rapid True Value is
2 minutes after 5.
Label Crafts Jamaica Limited offers exceptional finishes that will make your product extraordinary at an affordable cost. The Temperature by Label Crafts Jamaica Limited. The #1 choice for label printing is...
It's 31 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 31 in Montego Bay.
News at 5 teasers are brought to you by Advanced Scales and Equipment. Service is our total commitment.
From the Nationwide News Network, comprehensive, incisive, tough. This is Nationwide at 5.
Good afternoon, I'm Mahiri Stewart.
And I'm Shalois Michael.
And in Nationwide News at this hour, Integrity Commission rules that Dr. Andrew Wheatley be charged for illicit enrichment.
But the MP has rejected the Commission's findings as patently false, inaccurate and grossly misleading.
Third country nationals from the US will not be detained on arrival in Jamaica, and no detainees will be accepted under the agreement.
Jamaica is not receiving any deportees from the United States, except Jamaicans. There will be nobody detained, nobody with detention, as part of an international understanding bilateral agreement.
JFJ concerned about potential human rights breaches associated with Jamaica's third country nationals agreement with the U.S.
Newly submitted UHWI board documents support former chairman's account of CEO recruitment process.
In news from the rest of the world, Trinidad Electricity Commission confirms existence of protected list of customers exempted from disconnection.
U.S. agreement with Iran could be finalized on Thursday.
In headline sports, England makes winning start to World Cup campaign. Ronaldo left frustrated.
And later in our broadcast, in our cover story at 5:35, the Integrity Commission has ruled that South Central St. Catherine MP Dr. Andrew Wheatley be charged for illicit enrichment following an investigation into his earnings, acquisition of sale of assets over a 9-year period. You'll hear more.
And at 6, it's Ghana versus Panama in the group stage of the 2026 World Cup.
All these and more as we take you home on air Nationwide 90 FM this Wednesday afternoon. It's Wednesday, June 17, 2026.
News at 5 teasers were brought to you by Advanced Scales and Equipment. Service is our total commitment.
If it's news, it's got to be Nationwide 90 FM.
Now to the details. The Integrity Commission, IC, has ruled that Member of Parliament for South Central St. Catherine, Dr. Andrew Wheatley, be charged for illicit enrichment. This follows an investigation into Dr. Wheatley's earnings, acquisition of assets and sale of assets over the period December 31, 2013 to December 31, 2022. There are three more charges, the IC says it will lay against Dr. Wheatley based on its investigation covering the 9-year period. The details of the investigation are captured in an 89-page report prepared by the IC and tabled in the House of Representatives on Wednesday afternoon. George Davis reports.
Dr. Andrew O'Brien Wheatley returned to Andrew Holness's cabinet less than a year ago, Wednesday, September 17, 2025, as Minister without portfolio in charge of science, technology and special projects. Before that, the 53-year-old spent 7 years on the backbench after resigning as Minister of Energy in July 2018, owing to allegations of corruption and nepotism at the state-owned oil refinery Petrojam. In that matter, Dr. Wheatley was never charged with any offense, nor was any claim of misconduct even brought against him. His battle then was to clear his name of speculation and suspicion in the public square. Back then, he wasn't even required to defend himself in a court of law. But this is a fight of an altogether different kind. This time, the Integrity Commission has ruled that he should answer 4 charges relating to his income and assets between December 31, 2013 and December 31, 2022. The rulings form the crucial segment of a letter sent to the Houses of Parliament on June 11 this year by Executive Director of the IC, Craig Beresford. So what are the 4 charges? Charge 1, knowingly making a false statement in a statutory declaration. That charge, the IC says, is a breach of the Parliamentary Integrity of Members Act. Charge 2, knowingly making a false statement in a statutory declaration. That charge, the IC says, is a breach of the Integrity Commission Act. Charge 3, failing without reasonable cause to provide any information as the Director of Information and Complaints may require. That charge, the IC says, is a breach of the Corruption Prevention Act. So what has caused the IC to recommend these charges? Well, the Commission says when it did its tabulation of Dr. Wheatley's statutory declarations and its investigations for the 9-year period, it established that Dr. Wheatley had total income of $187 million. Broken out, this total income comprised of $4.8 million as his opening bank balance, $78.27 million in loans, $18.94 million in investments, $6.04 million for insurance policies, $51.38 million in salary and allowances, $542,000 for interest on accounts, and $8.69 million for rental income. The IC's tabulation in Table 4 on page 51 of its report puts that total at $187,287,000. However, when our news center tallied the numbers from that table ourselves, we found an error. The total income was $168.68 million. So it seems from the numbers presented that the IC has made a mistake in its calculation. The actual total of Dr. Wheatley's income is $18.6 million less than the figure published in its report. The IC says it tabulated Dr. Wheatley's assets acquired and other expenditure to be in the amount of $351.53 million. Broken out, that figure is made up of $41.88 million as the closing balance in his bank accounts, $70.67 million for loan repayment, $3.7 million for investments, $48.4 million for properties acquired, $10.49 million for motor vehicles acquired, and $176 million for expenses. When we double-checked the figures, that total is indeed correct. So when the IC subtracted the total sum of Dr. Wheatley's income from the total sum of his assets acquired and sold over the 9-year period, it came up with a figure of $164.25 million. And it's that number which the IC says represents the value of Dr. Wheatley's assets over the 9-year period, for which he has failed to provide sufficient evidence to support. But if you adjust the figure for what appears to be the IC's error in calculation, then the total of the illicit enrichment is $182.85 million. The IC was not done with Dr. Wheatley. It recommended that the Commissioner General of Tax Administration Jamaica look into the matter concerning one of Dr. Wheatley's companies, Western Medical. According to the IC, Western Medical filed nil tax returns for the years 2011 and 2012, despite Dr. Wheatley providing evidence that the company earned between $15 million and $26 million over those 2 years. George Davis for Nationwide News.
Meanwhile, Dr. Andrew Wheatley has rejected the Integrity Commission's findings as patently false, inaccurate, and grossly misleading. In a media statement issued within an hour of the report being tabled, Dr. Wheatley rejected the Commission's conclusion that some $164 million in assets could not be supported by his lawful earnings. He says it was odd, unreasonable, and unfair that the Director of Investigations decided not to take into account approximately $168 million in rental income, which he said he lawfully earned and declared over the 9 years. He says the director also ignored the verifiable sources he used to repay some $50 million in loans for his real estate business. On the finding that he received 6 apartments declared as gifts, Dr. Wheatley said these came out of a joint venture to develop land and that such arrangements were not unusual in the real estate industry. The Member of Parliament for South Central St. Catherine has stressed that the Commission had made no allegation that he benefited unlawfully from public funds. Dr. Wheatley says he has instructed his attorneys to vigorously contest the charges in court and was confident of a positive outcome. The statement was issued through his attorney, Abe Dabdoob. National Security Minister Dr. Horace Chang says third country nationals who come into Jamaica under the Memorandum of Understanding with the United States will not be detained on arrival. As he explained it, persons transferred under the MOU will be nationals of countries other than Jamaica. Mahiri Stewart reports.
Dr. Chang says the MOU was signed last week Wednesday, June 10, after extensive negotiations. The starting date to begin receiving TCNs has not yet been established. Neither does the MOU say when the arrangement will end. Dr. Chang told a post-cabinet media briefing earlier on Wednesday the TCN arrangement was a request from the U.S. and was not suggested by Jamaica. According to Dr. Chang, no deportees will be accepted under the arrangement.
Jamaica is not receiving any deportees from the United States, except Jamaicans. I repeat that. We have no agreement, no understanding to accept deportees from the United States. We accept every month 100 Jamaican deportees. And we have the expertise and the staff to manage their entry into Jamaica. That arrangement was negotiated by professionals so that they can come in a structured, organized manner and be resettled in Jamaica, their homeland.
According to the United Nations Refugee Agency, a deportee is a person forcefully or physically removed from a country to their country of origin or a third country by the authorities of the host country. By the same source, a third country national is any person who is not a national of either the host state or the country from which they are removed. Minister Chang says none of the TCNs will be detained.
There will be nobody detained, nobody with detention, as part of an international understanding, not a bilateral agreement. The activity to transition them to Jamaica is a bilateral agreement negotiated between two governments who are allies in many areas.
Dr. Chang says the number of TCNs to be accepted is 25. He says if all 25 do decide to stay in Jamaica, immediate breaks will be applied to the program. He explains that TCNs who want to settle in Jamaica will have to go through the formal asylum application process.
An agreement to transition to Jamaica, some third country nationals from the United States. The number is 25. It's an understanding, and at no time will the number exceed 25 because we have the right to refuse anyone at any time. And both parties can terminate the entire agreement without any long-term notice. The process is basically the operational procedure is still being worked out and then being negotiated by the professionals, and it will be some time before we see anyone landing here.
So how will they be housed while transiting in Jamaica? According to Dr. Chang, that's still to be finalized with the International Organization for Migration, the UN-affiliated agency that supports governments in managing migration and displacement. However, he says the understanding so far is that the United States government will cover the initial stay of the TCNs in Jamaica.
That's one of the issues that has been worked out. We'll have to work with the International Organization for Migration to find the appropriate combination for them. Until that is done, we can't receive any.
At least 7 other countries in the Caribbean and Latin America have entered into similar agreements with the United States. These are Belize, Costa Rica, Paraguay, Panama, Antigua and Barbuda, Dominica, and St. Kitts and Nevis. Mahiri Stewart for Nationwide News.
Meanwhile, Executive Director of Jamaicans for Justice, Michael Jackson, says the Jamaica-United States MOU on third country nationals raises questions about potential human rights breaches.
The challenge that we're having is that we are not aware of what those safeguards are, and the broader fear that we have is Jamaica complicit in what is ultimately a human right breach? And that is very problematic for us, because if you look at the circumstances and the procedures, due process, international law, US's own domestic law, there are certain procedures that the United States must follow regarding individuals.
Speaking on Nationwide this morning on Wednesday, Jackson outlined the risk behind this move.
Where persons are unable to go back home because their home countries refuse to take them back, or there are practical barriers. There are certain obligations under international law and US's own law that they must abide by. A similar situation happened with persons who are seeking asylum status. such. So if somebody who is a gay man is facing persecution in their country, the United States has a legal obligation to keep them in U.S. until the matter is resolved. So what you find now is that the U.S. is bypassing their international obligations by establishing these agreements. And Jamaica invariably is complicit in this clear human rights violation.
Michael Jackson, Executive Director of Jamaicans for Justice.
You're listening to Nationwide News at 5. More news after these.
You're listening to Nationwide 90 FM. The time is
17 minutes after 5.
Termites, rodents, or birds infesting your home or office? Call Rent-A-Kill Initial, the pest expert, at 876-926-4236 for a free pest assessment island-wide. The temperature brought to you by Rent-A-Kill Initial is
29 degrees Celsius in Kingston City, 31 out west in Montego Bay.
Campari, red passion. 3 bills that are for your drink and 18 bills for the floss. Aye, they are the bar, just get a text. Buy for your link up, she want make a flex. Buy a Campari, you know what's next. Ashley, I call up, wifey don't vex. Head to your nearest community bar and get your Campari for the recommended drink price of $300 for a drink and $1,800 for the flask. Campari, red passion. Must be 18 years or older to drink. Drink responsibly.
Continuing the news, there's another twist in the University Hospital of the West Indies, UHWI, saga involving former chairman Wayne Chai Chung and the recruitment process for a new chief executive officer for the institution. Further documents have now surfaced, seemingly proving his claims of an intensive selection process. It follows a previous suggestion by the current UHWI executives that the minutes of the board contained very little in the way of information about the selection of a new CEO. Khaleesi Wright reports.
Former board chairman of the University Hospital of the West Indies UWI, Wayne Chai Chung, had told Parliament's Public Accounts Committee, PAC, that his management team carried out an extensive recruitment and selection process. But last week, acting UWI CEO Eric Hosin told PAC chairman Julian Robinson that there was very little in the board minutes that supported Chai Chung's account.
And the only reference of all the minutes that you checked, and you said you would have checked for the period from pretty much a 1 year period.
Yes.
The only reference to the CEO would have been what?
They found in the July 19, 2023, which was attached, and the only mention of the selection process or employment of a candidate can be found there. And there is really nothing
else
that states that the board approved anyone to be the CEO.
Government PAC members seized on the claim to suggest that Chai Chung may have misled them. But during Tuesday's sitting, Robinson read into the record that additional documents have been provided by the UWI's Human Resource and Customer Services Committee, which support Chai Chung's account of the CEO recruitment process. Those documents reportedly revealed a lengthy and structured recruitment process.
There is also a copy of an email from the board requesting that members confirm and approve the process. And this seemed to have been done by round robin because there are copies from board members who indicated their support for the process to go ahead. So members, we have before us in detail the discussions that took place related to the recruitment of a CEO for the hospital. I mentioned at the last minute meeting that I was surprised that we could only find 2 paragraphs, and I knew there had to be more, and those minutes have been provided for us.
PAC member Peter Bunting says the information provided seemingly vindicates Chai Chung's account.
A quick scan of it paints a completely different picture from what we were led to believe at the last meeting, like this chairman was on a frolic of his own, and that what he had presented to the committee the meeting before was not accurate. But what we see here is quite a comprehensive record of the board treating with the matter of recruiting a CEO in an international selection process.
Chai Chung resigned as board chairman of the UWI in 2023. He cited ministerial interference in the CEO recruitment process as the reason for tendering his resignation. Robinson says the information should set the record straight as to Chai Chung's testimony before the committee.
I was going to say I'd go further. If you read some of the documents, I think the former chairman made it clear in some of these meetings that this process had to be one that could stand the test of scrutiny and rigor. And I think I have seen it maybe once or twice where he said that. And so I think it is important for the record of the meeting, and certainly I know for the former chairman that this be placed on the record so that there is no question about the accuracy of his representation to the committee when he was here. I think this fully supports his testimony here before the committee.
Khaleesi Wright for Nationwide News.
World in a Minute is brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology and integrity.
The World in a Minute.
The Trinidad and Tobago Electricity Commission says it has sought legal advice following public concerns about a protected list of customers who are exempted from disconnection for outstanding electricity bills. The Commission says the list includes government ministers, members of parliament, and private companies. In a statement on Wednesday, the Commission said the protected list was originally intended to prevent the disconnection of critical public institutions.
U.S. President Donald Trump says the country's agreement with Iran will be signed shortly and could be finalized on Thursday. The details of the agreement was revealed by U.S. officials on Tuesday. The 14-paragraph deal says Iran will never have a nuclear weapon and also commits a $300 billion fund for the reconstruction and economic development of the country.
World in a Minute was brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology and integrity.
Recapping the top stories making nationwide news at this hour, Integrity Commission rules that Dr. Andrew Wheatley be charged with illicit enrichment.
But the MP has rejected the Commission's findings as patently false, inaccurate, and grossly misleading.
Third country nationals from the U.S. will not be detained on arrival in Jamaica, and no detainees will be accepted under the agreement. I'm Mahiri Stewart.
And I'm Shalois Michael.
You can find the news on our website at nationwideradiojm.com and join the Nationwide Family Club at patreon.com/Nationwide News Network. News next tomorrow.
Real nephew, feel with culture. Pass the real, yeah, me want it. Feel all the vibes with me party. So recommended selling price at the nearest community bar for Ray and Nephew. Campari or Kingston 62 is only $300 per drink and $1,800 per flask. Must be 18 years old. Let's drink responsibly. Reaching out to all original daddy.
They lead with strength. They love with purpose. They inspire through action. Now it's their turn to be honored. Join Nationwide 90 FM live inside Cliffviews Online Friday, June 19 at 10 a.m. for the Outstanding Fathers Awards Ceremony 2026 under the theme Build on Strength and Sacrifice, Honoring Resilience and Commitment. The Bureau of Gender Affairs will recognize fathers from across Jamaica whose leadership, resilience, and positive parenting continues to make a lasting impact on their families and communities. That's the Outstanding Fathers Awards Ceremony 2026 live inside Cliffviews Online Friday, June 19 at 10 a.m. Let's celebrate the men whose dedication is helping to build stronger families and a stronger Jamaica. Catch this and so much more on our YouTube channel, NNN Radio Live, and keep your dials locked to Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by the Bureau of Gender Affairs Men's Empowerment Unit.
Sports at 5 is brought to you by Total Tools. Total Tools, every tool, every trade.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to sports here on Nationwide 90 FM. I'm Wayne Walker. 1966 champions England made a winning start to their 2026 FIFA World Cup campaign with a stylish 4-2 win over the 2018 beaten finalist Croatia in Dallas on Wednesday. Captain Harry Kane bagged a brace for the British, and they got further goals from Marcus Rashford and Jude Bellingham.
Neto. Great header. The first Portuguese goal of another World Cup pursuit. Look out, that's interesting. The Leopards pounce, the Leopards roar. We have history in Houston. The first ever World Cup goal for DR Congo.
Well, apologies for that, because that's the game between Portugal and the DR Congo, which ended 1-1 in Houston. At this early game, Joe Neves got the opener for the Portuguese on minute number 6 before João Vissa got the equalizer on the stroke of halftime. Let's now go back to the England game, where they beat the Croats by 4-2.
Croatia as they did in the semi-final 8 years ago. We know the only way happy wins the ball. Maybe a little bit fortunate. But Harry Kane will take that. He's also chasing down the England all-time record of scoring in worst days. With the authority of King Tame, he puts England into some brilliant growth. Jude Bellingham tells you all.
And the 2 more games will complete the schedule on day number 7. Ghana will take on Panama at 6 o'clock, and Uzbekistan will take on Colombia. Now, at the end of the Colombia-Uzbekistan game, which starts at 9 o'clock, the fans would have seen all 48 nations played 1 game so far, and round 2 will begin on Thursday, that's tomorrow. And of course, Nationwide 90 FM will continue its live and extended coverage of the FIFA World Cup with the 2 games later on tonight. Ghana against Panama at 6 and Uzbekistan against Colombia at 9 p.m. And we hope that you're enjoying our coverage of the World Cup. Now, the 4-day National Junior and Senior Athletics Championships will get underway on Thursday at the National Stadium. And it starts at 9 in the morning with the 100 meters qualifiers for men. A number of the country's biggest stars have stayed away from the championship, including the Olympic and World Championship 100 meters silver medalist Kishane Thompson. And of course, the depth of Jamaica's athletics will ensure, irrespective of the fact that a number of them have pulled away, that there's still quality on show over the next 4 days. Also missing from the 100 meters is Brian Lavelle, the 2025 200 meters bronze medalist from Tokyo. However, the field will have the world champion himself, Oblique Seville. Akeem Blake is going to be there. Kadrian Gosen, who was a member of that relay world record-breaking team in Botswana 2 months ago. There's Rowan Watson, Boaji and Kobe's back. Sashin Dennis, DeAndre Daly is also in the lineup, as well as a promising youngster, also for Wolmer's, well, formerly of Wolmer's Gary Card. Athletes are vying for selection to the Commonwealth Games in Scotland, and that starts on July 23, and the World Under-20 Championships in Eugene, Oregon, United States, between August 5 and 9. Shericka Jackson and Elaine Thompson-Hera are the big names on the women's side who are on the list to compete. Thompson-Hera is seeking to defend her sprint double title won 4 years ago in Birmingham at the Commonwealth Games. Cricket now, the West Indies women will be aiming for back-to-back victories when they take on Scotland in their second game at the ICC T20 Women's World Cup, and the game to be played at Headingley, Leeds, and that's at Thursday starting at 12:30 p.m. Jamaica time. The Caribbean side got their campaign off to a very, very good start, an impressive start even. They beat the defending champions New Zealand by 7 wickets at the weekend in their opening game, and they'll be looking to build on that. A key figure in the opening victory was all-rounder Alia Elaine. She bagged 4 wickets and in that victory, and she'll be hoping to replicate the form against the Scots as the West Indies seek another important win. Despite her impressive individual performance, Elaine says if the West Indies is to keep their winning habit going, they'll have to do it as a team.
Yeah, I think coming off of the skipper and some of the senior players, we've been saying that we have a lot of youth coming through, and we said that this is one of our better teams. So I think it was just for us to each person put out their hand, and I think it's always good for our cricket to see that we winning without Stephanie Taylor, Shana Henry, that could show that any 11 we put out there is a threat to any team.
Yeah, that's Alia Elaine, the West Indies player, looking forward to putting on a big performance like she did in the opening game against New Zealand, against the Scots, come tomorrow at 12:30 p.m. All right, that's it for sports. We won't be back at 6:05 that we normally do because it will be Black Stars, Ghana against Panama in our next live World Cup game. And that will be followed 3 hours later by the Uzbekistan-Colombia matchup at 9 o'clock. Continue to enjoy live coverage of the World Cup. We're going to have the cover story following this sportscast, but we'll be getting out in time for the commentators over there in New York, where Ghana will take on Panama. Have a good rest of the afternoon.
Sports at 5 was brought to you by Total Tools. Total Tools, every tool, every trade.
For all your custom framing, printing, graphic design, and purchase of art, Make It Frame Art Jamaica Limited, serving you for over 40 years. The time by Frame Art Jamaica is
5:32.
Appleton at the bar, come join me. A drink is just $3.50.
The recommended selling price for Appleton Estate Signature at your nearest community bar is only $350 per drink and $2,100 per flask. Must be 18 years or older to drink. Drink responsibly.
For 25 years, Digicel has been keeping Jamaica better connected. From late night calls to the texts, clicks, and moments that keep us close.
Hi, babes.
A network built in Jamaica for Jamaicans. But connection has never been just about the network. It's about the people behind every hello. Celebrating 25 years. Digicel, powered by you, connected by us.
For all your electrical needs, visit ABC Electrical Sales. They stock a wide variety of electrical supplies including plugs, switches, panel boards and conduits, plus energy-saving fixtures. ABC Electrical Sales stocks brands like GE, Siemens, Philips, Cutler Hammer and Allen Bradley. They also offer free island-wide delivery just to suit your needs. Visit them at Shop 8, Hagley Park Plaza, Kingston 10 or call 876-754-3714-5 or 876-754-3825-8. ABC Electrical Sales, for a better choice in the electrical business.
Tired of long lines and heavy grocery bags? Say hello to Fedlin Limited, your trusted online supermarket. Order through our website from anywhere locally or overseas. Create an account to earn reward points. Get discounts and special prizes. Enjoy same-day delivery in Manchester and St. Elizabeth or pick up at our store in Santa Cruz. Don't wait. Order today. Call 876-966-2214 or visit our website at fedlinsupermarket.com. Fedlin Limited, your groceries, your way.
This is Nationwide's World Cup Team Profile. Brought to you by Digicel, powered by you, connected by us.
Egypt has a historic yet challenging record at the FIFA World Cup, having qualified 4 times, 1934, 1990, 2018 and 2026. As the first African and Arab nation to compete in 1934, they are giants in African football, but they've never won a match in the tournament finals, holding a record of 2 draws and 5 losses across their previous 3 appearances. Egypt, one of the 48 countries, will be participating at the FIFA World Cup, and you can follow their progress right here on Nationwide 90 FM. We'll have extended live coverage of the greatest show on earth.
That was Nationwide's World Cup Team Profile. Brought to you by Digicel, powered by you, connected by us.
Good afternoon, listeners, viewers. Welcome. It's time for the cover story here at Nationwide at 5. I'm your host, Siobhan Campbell. And what an interesting day it has been. I know many of you who pulled yourself away from the World Cup matches to be here. I appreciate it. Thank you, especially those over on YouTube. We have a very important matter, news just coming not too long ago, and that's the Integrity Commission's report into Dr. Andrew Wheatley. The IC, that's the Integrity Commission, has ruled that the Member of Parliament for South Central St. Catherine be charged for illicit enrichment. This follows an investigation into Dr. Wheatley's earnings, acquisition of assets, and sale of assets over the period December 31, 2013 to December 31, 2022. There are 3 more charges that IC says it will lay against Dr. Wheatley based on its investigation covering the 9-year period. Those are 1, knowingly making a false statement in a statutory declaration, which is a breach of the Parliamentary Integrity of Members Act. 2, knowingly making a false statement in a statutory declaration, which is a breach of the Integrity Commission Act. 3, failing without reasonable cause to provide any information as the Director of Information and Complaints, may require. The IC says that charge is a breach of the Integrity Commission Act. The details of the investigation are captured in an 89-page report prepared by the Commission and tabled in the House of Representatives on Wednesday afternoon. The Commission says when it did its tabulation of Dr. Wheatley's statutory declarations and its investigations for the 9-year period, it established that Dr. Wheatley had a total income of $187 million. Broken out, this total income comprised a $4.8 million as his opening bank account balance, $78.27 million in loans, $18.94 million in investments, $6.04 million for insurance policies, $51.38 million in salary and allowances, $542,000 for interest on accounts, and $8.69 million for rental income. The IC's tabulation in Table 4 on page 51 of its report puts that total at $187,287,000. However, when our news center tallied the numbers from that table ourselves, we found an error. The total income was $168.68 million. Meanwhile, Dr. Wheatley has rejected the Integrity Commission's findings as patently false, inaccurate, and grossly misleading. In a media statement issued subsequent to the report being tabled, Dr. Wheatley rejected the Commission's conclusion that some $164 million in assets could not be supported by his lawful earnings. Dr. Wheatley says he has instructed his attorneys to vigorously contest the charges in court and was confident of a positive outcome. The statement was issued through his attorney, Abe Dabdoob, who joins us now. Good afternoon, Sir Dabdoob.
Right, good afternoon.
It is good to hear from you. So specifically, what are the instructions from your client as it relates to this matter from the Integrity Commission?
My instructions are very clear. We are to defend his position. We are to put together a team of attorneys to deal with the issues raised. We are going to have a meeting, of course, of the attorneys, because all this has come as a surprise, quite frankly, to me, because I've been involved with assisting him and the Integrity Commission all along. And I am surprised. In fact, I am shocked that they could have arrived at the position they arrived at, because they failed to take into account $168 million of rental income, which was lawfully earned over the 9 years.
And was a basis provided as to why they did not tabulate that in their final outcome?
I don't know, because I haven't read their report.
It's a very exhaustive document. I mean, 89 pages. I haven't
Yeah, but
had
I
full
don't
time
have
to
a
go
copy.
through it in its entirety. But in terms of the charges themselves, knowingly making a false statement in a statutory declaration, what does Dr. Wheatley make of that charge, suggesting that he is knowingly making false statements?
I don't know what they are talking about because none of the statements that he, or none of his statutory declarations had any false statement in there.
I see they highlighted one specific instance where he had a loan at the Bank of Nova Scotia. They suggested that he did not include that in his filings.
No, that loan must be the one that they claim that he should have disclosed it.
Yes.
Because, and let me explain what the loan was. He had a joint venture with another person. The person had money to buy the land, but he could not raise any money to develop it. And therefore, what Dr. Wheatley did is borrow the money, but and the way they have handled it is not correct, because when the money was paid back by the joint venture through Dr. Wheatley, but they took the money that was being paid back to the bank and said that this was illicit earnings. Or they claim it's part of the illicit earnings. And to me, quite frankly, I have found in doing these cases with the Integrity Commission that the people who are doing the investigation, and particularly the Director of Investigation, doesn't know anything about commerce, real estate development, and is not even a forensic auditor. So I don't know why they have people like that there. The proper thing that the Integrity Commission needs to look at, and I think the Parliament needs to address, is if you're going to investigate somebody, at least do it forensically. There are people who you can employ to do a forensic audit.
On another matter, though, Sir Adabdu, I suppose it's related. The matter of the the company Prosperity, which was incorporated in 2018, it suggests that Wheatley bought land and he was supposed to therein explain it as an investment, but he did not do so, according to the Integrity Commission.
But he did declare that he had the interest in Prosperity. But Prosperity is who bought the land.
But it suggests here that he was the one who received the land, so to speak. That he, Wheatley, through them.
Eventually. And this is why I say they don't understand real estate development. You know, when you are developing a property, you can have a company that does the construction work, but you don't transfer the property into the name of the company right away, even though the company technically owns it, because of transfer tax implications when you are going to sell. And that is why you can have split contracts. So you have a contract that sells you the lot and a contract that sells you the building on the lot. I don't know if you are aware of that.
I can't suggest that I'm that au fait with those nitty-gritty details of businesses, but one would assume that
this is
in
part
these...
of the problem.
Yes.
This is part of the problem that the Integrity Commission staff are not properly trained in that area to understand how business is conducted and how real estate business is conducted. So they come to wrong conclusions.
And I suppose that's
Suffice it to say that Dr. Wheatley is in a position to defend everything that was put before him. Whatever they have found, he has a defense to.
And one of the most egregious things, and I would love an explanation to try and understand this, Sir Dabdoob, is the Integrity Commission tabulated the total at $287,000, but we put it down at $168.68 million. But in Wheatley's statement in response to this, he has it as 164. Why such a so many discrepancies?
I don't know of any discrepancy because I don't have the document before me. I haven't read it. So I can't speak to the actual report. What I can say is that if it is $187 million, if you took the $168 million of rental income, which was lawfully earned, and if you took the 10.9 million of 2 vehicles that he sold that they have refused to treat it as earnings, then that total is going to come up to
almost 180 million, yes.
Yes,
thereabouts.
So that the difference we would be talking about is 7 million. And that is where I find the problems with their calculations. I got a copy of what Dr. Wheatley has said. And I remember it, and I looked it up. And he is correct in what he's saying there. He has the evidence. But nobody asked him for any further evidence.
But the Integrity Commission suggested that they interviewed Dr. Wheatley and they have written in several sections his responses and their rejection, so to speak, of those responses.
Yes, but how can you reject a lawful earning? And you reject a lawful earning because you say that he hasn't allowed you to speak to the tenant, for instance.
And finally, before we have to let you go, Sir Dabdoob, has he officially been charged? I know it suggests that charges have been recommended, but has Dr. Wheatley been officially charged?
I don't know that they can officially charge him immediately because this report has to go to the Oversight Committee and it has to come back to Parliament with the Oversight Committee report. And I intend, and I must tell you, I intend to write to the DPP to ask for her intervention in ensuring that a proper forensic audit is done before he can be charged.
But under the circumstances, doesn't the Integrity Commission have the full authority through their Director of Prosecutions to charge him and continue without the input of the DPP?
No. I am of the view that there's a section, I think it's section 34, if I'm not mistaken, or 94, in the Integrity Commission Act that makes it clear that they are subject to the DPP and the Constitution. Under, I think, Section 94 of the Constitution gives the DPP the right to step in any prosecution and stop it or give her directions.
So you intend to have the DPP or request that the DPP intervene in this matter?
I'm not going to ask her to intervene. I'm going to put to her the facts that we have and show that it has not been given a fair hearing, and therefore ask her to indicate to the Director of Corruption Prosecution that prior to her charging, she should ensure that we get a fair hearing.
That is Attorney at Law Abe Dabdoob. He's representing Dr. Andrew Wheatley in this matter regarding the Integrity Commission's concerns about his filings. Thank you for joining us, Sir Dabdoob.
Yeah, but there's one other point I should make to you.
Please, go ahead.
They have asked him to account for a number of years, going back to 2010, when it is so remote that you can, and one of the things they were asking him, what was your household expenses in 2010, 2012?
And I imagine you have some difficulty remembering that.
Thing. I don't know which one of us as Jamaicans can tell you what his household expenses were in 2012 when you're asking him that in 2025.
I can imagine that would be very difficult to recall. But I'm getting the wrap-up signal, Sir Dabdoob. I apologize, but we really have to go. But I thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you.
So, listeners, that's where we have to leave Nationwide at 5. Please stay tuned. We still have a program up ahead for you. I'm Siobhan Campbell. Thank you for joining us.
Give your child every